What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and former President Donald Trump set to turn himself in here. And what to expect here is we have potentially thousands of New York police officers on the scene. Trump's attorney, Joe Tacopina, says that he hopes everything goes painless and classy, as we have who knows how many people set to be there and in support of him. Also, will we see a gag order in his case? What that would mean and why it could land Trump in prison. And I think we all know here that Trump is not very good at keeping quiet at pretty much anything. So if the judge gives him a gag order, he won't be able to talk about the case. And here, take a look here. Yeah, a gag order is imposed by a judge in a criminal or civil case that blocks a party, including attorneys or witnesses, from publicly talking about the case. Though the exact terms or of the order and what can or cannot be said may vary. But in this case, it could be talking about everything. If a gag order is violated, the party could be held in contempt of court, which in New York carries a punishment of a $1,000 fine and or up to 30 days in prison. So obviously the fine wouldn't be an issue, but you can go to prison for it. So yeah, legal experts cited by Insider and Bloomberg said it's possible and even, quote, extremely likely the court could impose a gag order on Trump, particularly given the security concerns arising from his attacks on prosecutors or other figures in the case, though there are First Amendment issues given that he's running for president that could make any broad restrictions on his speech legally problematic. Any gag order would likely be narrowly tailored to only cover certain kinds of information about the case. Katie Townsend, Deputy Executive Director and Legal Director of the Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press, told Bloomberg. So most likely a gag order would be put on Trump when he's arraigned Tuesday as a condition for his release from custody. Former federal prosecutor Duncan Levin told Insider, and the former president's attorneys could also be barred from publicly discussing the case so as not to taint the jury pool ahead of a trial. The order would be issued by New York Supreme Court Justice Juan Merchan, the judge presiding over the case, an absolutely no-nonsense judge, according to Levin, who Trump has already attacked on social media. So honestly, thinking about this, it probably seems likely because Trump just kind of has a history of publicly criticizing or attacking any of his political opponents, anybody kind of going after him. That's what he kind of does. He kind of goes after them on social media, on his different platforms, and on news media, wherever he's being interviewed. And I'll actually show you what he said here about Vladimir Putin here in a minute, which was kind of shocking to me. I'll show you that interview here in a moment. You guys can let me know your thoughts here on that. But I actually, now that I'm kind of thinking about it, I would actually expect a gag order from the judge. You guys can let me know your thoughts on this, but I wouldn't be surprised to see that. Because honestly, the first thing I expect from Trump after this is I expect him to go on social media. In fact, here's an article. Donald, right here from Reuters. Donald Trump set to speak from Florida after the arraignment. So, yeah, I mean, you're set to speak and literally, tell everybody what's happening. So, I wouldn't be surprised to see a gag order out of this. Yeah, so you guys can let me know your thoughts on this. Will it taint the jury? Will it taint the case? Or should Donald Trump be able to go on social media, tell his story, and then also, blast the Supreme Court justice and the jury and anybody, the DA who he wants to in this case. Also, I'll get to the Trump and Putin thing here in a second. We also remember that Trump has multiple different legal issues going on here. The Department of Justice has more evidence of possible Trump obstruction in the classified documents case here. The DOJ and the FBI investigators have more evidence of possible obstruction by former President Donald Trump in the probe into the classified documents during the FBI search of his Mar-a-Lago estate last summer, according to a new report from the Washington Post, citing anonymous sources that investigators now have new evidence that Trump, after receiving the subpoena from the DOJ, this is where it differs than like Biden. Because remember, Biden, let them come in. Trump, trying to not give back the classified documents for a long time, even got a subpoena and still didn't want to give the stuff back, right? So after receiving the subpoena for the classified documents at Mar-a-Lago, personally looked through the materials in an apparent attempt to hold on to some of the materials. Trump and his team had returned some of the documents after receiving the subpoena last spring, but the FBI later executed a search warrant at Mar-a-Lago that recovered hundreds of documents that were marked as classified and were kept at the Florida resort past Trump's time in office. The Presidential Records Act mandates all presidential materials are returned to the National Archives for preservation at the end of a White House tenure. So remember, we have Mike Pence, we have Donald Trump, and Biden that have all kind of had these documents. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to see if we have other like congressmen, congresswomen, because remember, they handle classified documents as well. Will we see criminal charges? I don't know. But you can see where the differences start to line in there, where Trump didn't want to give the documents back, and the extended length of time then went back there. And even after getting a subpoena, still didn't want to give the documents back. And then do they have evidence of maybe him hiding documents or something? We'll have to see. I'll keep you up to date here. Then Trump also gave this interview here almost defending Vladimir Putin, Russian president. Take a listen to this. Let me know your thoughts. Here we go.
During an appearance last week on Fox News, former President Donald Trump was asked to respond to sort of a lightning round style of questioning. And towards the end of the interview...
We missed this, by the way, last week.
No, I want to say it scrolled by me on Twitter, and sometimes one becomes so desensitized to all the different ways that he is anti-democratic and pro-fascist that you let it pass. And so we caught it. Here's what former President Trump said about Vladimir Putin and the war in Ukraine.
Give me quick, short sentences, narratives, whatever comes to your mind. Putin.
Well, I'm going to have to go a little short, but I got along with him great. Had I been president, he would have been much better off because he wouldn't have gone into Ukraine. But ultimately, he's going to take over all of Ukraine.
Okay, first of all, Mike, there is not a military analyst, a political analyst, a foreign policy analyst,
a NATO analyst
on the face of the earth that thinks Vladimir Putin is going to take over all of Ukraine. This is, again, the same guy. It's really, it's shocking, not surprising. This is the same guy who said how brilliant Vladimir Putin was for starting a war, that he was genius, that he was savvy, for starting a war that has absolutely ravaged his country, killed over 100,000 of his troops, completely weaned Europe off of all Russian energy needs. It's been devastating for his economy. And I talked to world leaders. I talked to the OPEC people, leaders in OPEC nations who say this guy is only, you know, some more variance in the oil markets and the energy markets away from his entire economy collapsing. I was trying to figure out the best way to say that, but he said they are a gas station, and they're a gas station about to go bankrupt if oil prices go down even more over the next couple months. They are really in deep trouble. And yet Trump is saying that he's brilliant, that he likes him, they get along well, he's savvy, and that they're going to take over all of Ukraine. Nobody in the world is saying that but Vladimir Putin, his lackeys, and Donald Trump.
Okay, and just I wanted to show you guys this. This is a kind of an independent analysis here from The Guardian that shows here how much land Russia controls of Ukraine. This is the red part here of what they control. Remember, they kind of annexed or just took over Crimea back in 2014, years ago. So this is the red part here of all of Ukraine, which they control. You can see it's only really about 10%, 15% maybe of Ukraine. So for them to take over all of Ukraine, it would be a long, long way to take over all of Ukraine. Like I said, that's what, maybe 10, 15% of this whole country. So yeah, that would be a long, long shot. Remember that Ukraine has over 40 million, about 40 million people. They had 45 million people originally, and a couple million people fled the country, mostly women and children. And for them to hold the country would be, in my opinion, almost impossible. To hold the country with a couple 100,000 troops, to hold the country of 40 million. You can let me know your thoughts on that, but it'd be, in my opinion, almost impossible. So, yeah, I mean, you can let me know your thoughts, but I think it'd be very difficult to take over this country. And this is why you heard the commentary there from the other announcers, but I think it'd be very difficult to take over this entire country of 40 million people. Yeah. So I'll keep you up to date here. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't yet. It's completely free to do so. And we're going to have a big, explosive next few days here. So we'll see what happens here. Here's some videos you should watch next. The Fed just started a U.S. digital dollar. You can click here to watch that. And here's a video I just did on Social Security, Medicare, and for low and middle income Americans. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.